What is up, Not So Pro Football Talk? I'm back. I know it's been 2 weeks, but we're here for the final video of the power rankings. But of course, spoiler alert, I will be doing a power rankings for the playoffs. So all 14 teams that do make the playoffs will be ranked every single week. And of course, it will be dwindling and dwindling down until it is the championship, the Lombardi Trophy, the game to win it all that every team loves to get to and hopefully win. But for now, it's the last week of the regular season. Let's get right into it. I'm going to bring up the criteria in which I'm going on. And here at 32, I mean, they've been back and forth. I'm going to have the Tennessee Titans. This past week, they took the L against Jacksonville, and this week they're going to go up against Houston. So nothing really too much to look forward to. I would expect the Titans to want to lose this game. They are sitting at 3-13, and you would hope that they would try to at least do their best to get a better pick here. At 31, I'm going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, they've been another team that's been just up and down, close to the bottom. Never really at 32 all that much this year, except way in the beginning in week 5, if you want to go back and watch those videos. But sitting here at 31, they got the dub against Tennessee. So that's why I think they are a better team at this point in time. And of course, they're out with their starting quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. He's been out with injury. It happens. This week they're going to go up against Indy, and I don't know. We'll see how they do against Indy. Indy is also going through some troubles, so could be a really bad game. Probably won't even watch this one. Sitting here at 30, I'm going to have the Las Vegas Raiders. Again, this team has been sitting at the bottom pretty much all season, never really moved up all that much, not even past 30 this entire time for my power rankings videos. Pretty dang crazy. But they actually took the dub this past week, getting the dub 25-10 against New Orleans. Pretty crazy here. This week they'll go up against LA and the Chargers. So should be an easy game for the Chargers, in my opinion, if they're even going to play everybody, because their position is locked right now into the playoffs. Sitting at 29, I'm going to have the New York Giants. Really, these New York teams just not have been doing good at all, and you really didn't expect them to, especially with everything going on. Yes, I mean, the Giants may have looked cool on Hard Knocks a few years back, but really we didn't expect them to have a winning season or even, contend to win that division. So this past week, they took the dub, actually, with a great game from Drew Lock. You should have seen Reed and I's overreaction there. Did the Giants mess up? Probably, but a good win is a good win. They beat the Indianapolis Colts 45-33, and next week they're going to go against Philly. I think Philly's sitting like their entire starting roster on both defensive and offensive sides there. So maybe this is another one that the Giants mess up and they win a game. We'll see. Sitting at 28, I'm going to have the New Orleans Saints. I know they took the L this past week to the Las Vegas Raiders, 10-25. But I think the New Orleans Saints are actually a better team. Again, they're going through a lot of injuries, quarterback situations up and down, coaching situation up and down. Everybody knows that New Orleans has just been in horrible cap for many, many years. And I think they're going to see some upside soon. So I think going into next year, I think they are a decent team. And this past year, they actually haven't done that bad. Sitting at 5-11, gonna face Tampa Bay this week. I think they should get killed just to get a better pick, and hopefully that'll make the difference. Here, sitting at 27, I'm gonna have the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, really, I'm not all impressed with them. Anthony Richardson, I thought could have got the ball rolling this year, finally healthy majority of it, but been back and forth with Joe Flacco because of a lot of drama, a lot of horrible play, yada, yada, yada. This past week, they took the L to my last week's last team, the New York Giants. So, yeah, 33-45. Drew Lock balled out, but nobody else could really keep up there for the Colts. So, going into this week, they'll face the Jags. They have been eliminated from the playoffs with the loss that they had last week and a couple of other teams winning. So, No real reason to talk about playoffs about them here, but maybe they'll lose to the Jags. I don't know. We'll see what happens with both these teams. At 26, the only team in the NFC North down here, the Chicago Bears, took the L on a weird, low scoring game against the Seattle Seahawks. Go Hawks. But really nothing to cheer about there from that game. So yeah, sitting at 4-12, not really what they looked at. Uh, drafting a Doomsday, drafting Caleb Williams, drafting a plethora of players that are supposed to help this year. And really, they're at the same position as they were last year, if not even worse. But going into next week, they'll face Green Bay. I assume they'll lose this game, even if Green Bay thinks of sitting their starters maybe at halftime or maybe the whole game. You never know. But yeah, not really looking forward to this game either, and should be a slugfest. Sitting at 25, I'm going to have the New York Jets. The Jets have just been a dumpster fire themselves, too, sitting at 4-12 this past week, taking the L to Buffalo, which was expected, 14-40. But really, what's going to happen with this organization? I wish I could put them at 32, but right now they are a decent team with the roster they have. They will keep a good majority of players going into next year, but they also could cut a lot of players. So is that going to be Aaron Rodgers? We don't know. I think they should. Hopefully, their coaching selection this year going into the next season, which we will cover in the offseason. So stay tuned with us. Hit the subscribe button here, hit the like button, and make sure you have that notification bell on. But the Jets, I don't know. It's a dumpster fire, like I said. I really don't know what direction they're going to go in. But next week, for sure, we know they're facing Miami, and I think Miami should win this game. The Jets might pull something together to give the New York Jets some hope, but again, I just don't believe in them. Sitting at 24, I have a team up there in the Northeast as well. They've been hovering around here too for quite some time because they've looked a lot better. New England Patriots. Last week they took the L 7-40, so it wasn't their best week. Definitely not a great one in my opinion, compared to the last few weeks that they've been playing and been pretty competitive. But sitting at 3-13, going against Buffalo this week, it's gonna be a rough one. Probably another loss, but a very good pick for them. So hopefully, Rod Mayo and the organization there with Kraft. Hopefully they make the correct decision here and move this organization back into a winning culture, but they're definitely going to need the help. So we'll see. Sitting at 23 here, I'm going to have the Cleveland Browns. Surprisingly, I did not think they'd be this good, but really, how good are they? Sitting at 3-13 themselves, I am just surprised that Jameis Winston is not starting here. Even if he is a little bit injured and there's some drama there, I really don't know why they're starting so many other quarterbacks and just maybe they're just throwing darts in the dark, shots in the dark, whatever you want to say, trying to see if they can find anything with anybody. I think this week they could have Bailey Zappi if I'm not mispronouncing or misinterpreting what their QB room is right now, but Bailey Zappi or Dorian Thompson Robinson. Can't say DTR, guys. Dorian Thompson Robinson. Long name there. But I don't know what's going on here for the Browns. They're going to face, this past week they lost 3-20 against Miami. And this next week they're going to face the Baltimore Ravens. I think this should be an L for them. I think even with the Dolphins possibly sitting some starters and, refreshing them before the playoffs, I think the Browns will still get creamed. They haven't been playing very good football this past week or the weeks prior. So, in my opinion, the Browns might just be kaput. And hopefully they can get something figured out and restructure that contract. Because, as we know, we all do not want to see Deshaun Watson there making all this money and possibly not even playing going into this next season. But we'll see. Another dumpster fire organization. Sitting at 22, this is a team that's still alive in the playoffs somehow. And I am just not, I'm not with it, guys. The Atlanta Falcons. Right now, they sat Kirk Cousins. I thought in the beginning of the season, the signing of him in the offseason was a horrible thing to do. And it's coming into fruition. I spoke very highly about it. Never changed my mind whatsoever. Even when Kirk Cousins was playing good, I knew that it wasn't going to last very long. But sitting at 8-8, they took the L to Washington, which was a very good game. But again, Michael Penix Jr. was the quarterback there, and that's why this game was good in my opinion. I feel like if Kirk Cousins played that game, it would have been a dumpster fire. Commanders would have killed. We all know what would happen. But seems like the Falcons are on their way with their new quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. So maybe that draft pick wasn't a bust, and maybe you Falcons fans are now thinking, hey, organization did good. But next week they'll go against Carolina. They have a chance to make the playoffs. I don't think it'll happen. I think Carolina will give them a tough game. Maybe Michael Penix Jr. and the Falcons will do it, and maybe the Buccaneers will lose. But in my opinion, I think the Buccaneers are the lock here. I think they're going to be the team to make the playoffs in that division. Speaking of that team, at 21, I have the Carolina Panthers. Like I said, they're going to face the Atlanta Falcons. This past week, they took the L horribly to the other team in that division, the Buccaneers. So they lost 14-48. Wasn't a very good game for the Carolina Panthers, but I have faith there in Bryce Young. I think going against the Falcons and Michael Penix Jr., he's going to want to face up and do well against that other young quarterback because Bryce Young is not a rookie anymore. But yeah, going against Atlanta should be a good game. I think I would want to watch this one to see how the future shapes out for the NFL because these are two quarterbacks that we could be seeing for a very long time. Sitting at 20, I'm going to have the Dallas Cowboys. They've been here for a while. Haven't really been moving up or down in the rankings too much. It's just been a steady back and forth. But they lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, got creamed 7-41. Expected, in my opinion. If you're a Cowboys fan, I'm sorry. But your playoff picture was ruined, and I thought it was ruined a long time ago. This week, they'll go against Washington. So a divisional rival. Maybe they can put up a fight. But in my opinion, I think the Commanders should win this one. I don't know how much they should win it by because, again, maybe Dallas is just trying to take some momentum into the next season. Mike McCarthy, maybe we'll see Trey Lance a little bit. Who knows? Could be an interesting game. I might tune into this one just to see if Trey Lance does anything, but I don't know. Could also be a dud. Sitting at 19, I'm going to have the Houston Texans. They did well in the beginning of the season, and then it's just been a dumpster fire since week 8 and on. I mean, C.J. Stroud has not been playing up to par. Defense has been riddled with injuries here and there, but not playing up to par either. So, last week, horrible game. One of the worst games I've ever seen besides the Seahawks and Chicago Bears. But from the Texans aspect of it, 2-31. No points for the offense, 2 points for the defense there with the safety. A really bad game. They're sitting at 9-7. Been locked into the playoffs for a while now because of the division they've been in. But going against Tennessee this week, it should be a win, right? Right? They should win this divisional rivalry here against the Tennessee Titans, who are one of the worst teams in the NFL. But I don't know. I don't even know if I want to pick the Texans here to win this. The Tennessee Titans might upset them because the Texans are playing that bad of football right now. And going into the playoffs is not very good. This is the game the Texans need to win in order to get some momentum going into the playoffs. If not, there will be an easy first-round exit for whoever plays them. Sitting at 18 here, first NFC West team. Can you guess it? The Arizona Cardinals. I just feel like the Arizona Cardinals have been playing mediocre the entire season, and their record shows it, sitting at 7-9. Past few weeks haven't been playing that well. Lost to the LA Rams 9-13, so divisional rival. Usually always close most of the time. But Cardinals just are doing Cardinals things. They've been eliminated from the playoffs for the past week and a half, I believe, with some other teams winning. But really no shot for them to make it this year, as we had talked about in the beginning of the season. But they played a lot, much better than we expected. But going against 49ers this week, I think the 49ers should win this one as long as they stay hungry and continue to compete. Arizona Cardinals really don't have many answers for many teams. They just keep it close, try to get the dagger at the end of the play there and the end of the game. So we'll see what happens. Sitting at 17, I'm going to have the Miami Dolphins. I mean, last week got the dub against Cleveland, 20-3. But again, we already talked about Cleveland and how bad they've been playing. Miami hasn't been doing that well either. Sitting at 8-8, pretty much dead set even. They won't be able to do it for the rest of the season because they have to either win or lose this next game, who they will be playing the Jets. I think it should be a win. Jets might have some stuff up their sleeve, but again, doesn't matter for anything except for pride on these two divisional rivals. And I mean, the Dolphins are theoretically on the bubble and trying to make the playoffs, but again, not too much is going to probably go in their favor here for the AFC side. So I don't believe the Dolphins will make the playoffs, but there's a possibility, guys. I'll put it up on the screen here. They have 1% or less than 1% if they lose this game, 11% currently before any game has been played, and 22% if they win. So they still don't have the full control over making the playoffs here. So that's why I think the Miami Dolphins won't win this. I feel like other teams who are doing a lot better will end up winning their matchup and make the playoffs. Now, sitting at 16, I'm going to have the San Francisco 49ers. I think they've been a pretty, I'm a Seahawks fan, so I'm going to say it, very mediocre team this year. Not to say that we've been much better, but 49ers have definitely not played up to expectations who they have on their roster. Of course, injuries have riddled them again like it didn't last year, but the year before that. So can we really blame them for how they've played? I think just a little bit with the type of players that they've had. But, last week, taking the close L to the Detroit Lions. Detroit does not look like Detroit right now because of the banged up defense. Like everybody there is injured. But 34-40, moving down to 6-10. Probably their worst record in a little while. Probably about 4 or 5 years, I would say. But going up against Arizona this next week, I think it should be a win in my opinion. I do think the 49ers are better than the Carolina or the Cardinals, at least at this point. So I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the San Francisco 49ers. I believe they are a top 500 team as of power rankings. And at 15, I said it, my Seahawks aren't doing much better. So Seahawks here at 15. This past week is a horrible game, 6-3, very defensive, horrible offense every which way you can think about it. Running game was horrible, passing game was horrible. I don't know. I don't even know what to think. I don't even want to think of this game anymore. But going into next week, we are facing the Rams. It could have been very cool if another team would have won and gotten us to play the Rams for the division here to see who goes to the playoffs. But it was ruined. So it is what it is. You can't really knock anybody too much. I hate the Falcons. I hate that they won. But it is what it is. Seahawks, he had a good season. There's a possibility that we get 10 wins and not make the playoffs. I usually say 10 wins and you're in. But this is a rare occasion where we are just not able to make it, even if we get that 10th win, just because of the strength of schedule. Oh, yada, yada. But Seahawks, I'm looking forward to next year. I think we're going to get better in the draft. Hopefully, we do some things to draft for the future. Maybe draft a quarterback to light a fire under Geno Smith. Maybe make him play better. And of course, we have to draft for the offensive line. That is all I want. That's all I want for Christmas. Christmas already passed, but this next Christmas, that's all I want. Do it, please. Sitting at 14 here, I have the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, back to back with the NFC West division there. I think these are the three best teams in the division. Not that we are anywhere close to being Super Bowl contenders, but the Rams have a shot to do it because they've made the playoffs. Facing the Arizona Cardinals last week, winning 13-9, a close win, not very memorable, not very poetic to get them to say like, oh, we could definitely win the championship this year and go to the Super Bowl. But next week, as I said, or this week, they'll face Seattle. I think it's going to be a tough game. Hopefully Seattle can come out with a dub here, but I wouldn't put it past the Rams to win and get 11 wins. I do think they are a better team at this point in time, offensively at least. Defensively, I think we are the better team, so I'm hoping that our defense can step up and stop this offense. Sitting at 13 here, I'm going to have the Cincinnati Bengals. They have definitely risen up in my power rankings. Back in week 15, sitting at 19, moving up 6 spots within these past 3 weeks. Last week I had them at 12. I didn't put out a video, but of course, I keep up with my teams. I think they are very good. Again, got the dub against Denver, 30-24, which they direly needed to keep their chances to make the playoffs. I'll put up their percentages right here on the screen. 1% or less than 1% if they lose, 6% currently, and if they win, they only have a 10% chance of making the playoffs. So again, not everything is in their vicinity to say, hey, we win, we're in. No, they have to have a couple other teams lose, and everything has to go right for them. So that's why it's such a low percentage. The Bengals have definitely come back and played very well, though. Very impressed. I think next season, this team is definitely a team to look at and say, hey, these guys are scary if they can play the same way they did at the midpoint to end of the season like they did last year. So I hope they draft well. I hope this team continues to get better because I would love to see more competition there on the AFC side just to rival the Kansas City Chiefs, the Bills, yada, yada, Ravens, everybody there. It's just always good to see teams getting better. And excited. Hopefully, I really hope the Bengals make the playoffs, but as we know, it's not in their, wheelhouse to say, hey, we did it. Now we're in. Sitting at 12 here, I'm going to have the Denver Broncos, who actually have the opportunity to move themselves into the playoffs with a little bit of help, of course. But this past week, got the L against Cincinnati, and that's why they're in this predicament. If they would have gotten that dub, they would have been already 100% locked in the playoffs for that last seed at least. But sitting at 9-7, they're going to face the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be a tough game. Probably not, because Kansas City will be sitting a lot of starters, if not all of them almost. But this could be a game that they win. You never know. Going against backups, going against Carson Wentz and a couple of other guys, Noah Gray instead of Travis Kelce, all that stuff. It could be a good game. This one is for playoff implications, so I'll bring that up on the screen here. 22% if they lose, so they still have a chance to make the playoffs even if they lose. 83% currently because they are ahead of most teams, and a more than 99% chance if they win. So basically 100%. But there is one little tiny percentage out there where even if they win, they could definitely not make playoffs. But we won't talk about that because that probably won't happen. Pittsburgh Steelers here at number 11. I mean, they have not really looked good. I would like to put them lower, but I don't know. It's hard to tell. Their defense can play very well, but the offense has just been very underwhelming. I wish I could put them farther down, but with their record right now, I just feel like they still are a good team, and they could turn it around at any point in time with Mike Tomlin there, or they could be a first-round exit, like I said on Overreaction Monday just a couple weeks ago. But sitting at 10-6, lost to the Kansas City Chiefs 10-29. They will face the Cincinnati Bengals this week. Cincinnati is hungry. They need to win this game, and since our Steelers really don't have to win this game, they are already 100% locked. But it would be a good win if they could do it against this divisional rival. So we'll see what happens here. Russell Wilson and company really need to step up their game in this offensive scheme here, or maybe even just put Justin Fields in. Maybe that's the spark you need going into the playoffs. I know he's a younger guy. Russell Wilson has way more experience going into this next part of the season, but is he really the guy that's going to get you there? Is he going to get you that win? So again, a lot of things for the Pittsburgh Steelers to think about, but as of now, we'll see what happens this week. Sitting at 10 here, I'm going to have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really, this team has been also wishy-washy, but this past week, very, very good. What an outing there by Baker Mayfield and company. I mean, they absolutely demolished. Mike Evans got the payday he needed. He got a bunch of yards, bunch of touchdowns. So beating Carolina 48-14, they move up to 9-7. This is awesome. I love it. I think that the Buccaneers are definitely going to make the playoffs as long as they can continue to play like this against New Orleans this week. So I'll bring up their percentages here on the board. If they lose, a 31% chance to make it still, currently sitting at an 89% chance before any games have been played, and a more than 99% chance, basically 100%, if they win this week. So We'll see what happens, but I think the Buccaneers are a shoo-in, and I think they could possibly make some noise going into the playoffs here, but we'll see. Sitting at 9, I have the Commanders. I mean, they are a really good team on offense. I think it's the defense that can definitely let up a lot of points, and we've seen it many times, just like this past game against Atlanta. Really, I think they should have won this game pretty easily. Maybe not by a bunch of points, but definitely not going into overtime. But going into overtime here with the Atlanta Falcons, 30-24, they pulled out the dub there. I mean, Jaden Daniels really looked good in overtime. I really love to see it. Michael Penix Jr. never got to touch the ball, but it is what it is. I still think he'll get his time to come back and beat the Commanders one day to start this rivalry with Jaden Daniels. It should be fun to see. But yeah, going into next week, they're going to face Dallas. They are already locked into the playoffs, so this is not a game they need to win, but it is definitely a game that they want to win. Everybody wants to beat Dallas, especially going into the playoffs, so that way you can make your opponent a little bit scared. And I think the Commanders could definitely do it. So right now, they are sitting at the number 6 seed. So if it were to stay like this, they should be playing up against the Rams possibly. But we'll have to wait and see. I think it will be definitely a good matchup. So looking forward to seeing this one. Sitting at 8 here, I'm going to have the Los Angeles Chargers, who are already locked into the playoffs, sitting at 10-6. Got the huge dub this past week against the Patriots, 40-7. So a dominant win like they needed. Going into this next week, another easy win. Hopefully no injuries happen here. I'm going to knock on wood. There you go, Liam. Hopefully nobody gets hurt there. But going against Las Vegas, it should be an easy win in my opinion. I really have nothing more to say about the Chargers. They're playing well on offense, playing well on defense. Definitely Harbaugh making a difference here. And Lad McConkey, cue the music, AJ Reed, or if you guys watch us on the lives, you know exactly what we're talking about. Little LADD McConkey. But yeah, he's definitely been playing good, and I really like the way this team is rolling. I definitely think they're going to make some noise in the playoffs. Hopefully not a first-round exit, but if they are, I know they'll make it a great game. At 7, this one was tough. These top 7 teams are really hard to rank at this point in time because definitely trying to think of the playoffs already, since all 7 teams here that I will go over are making the playoffs and are solidified like the past 2 teams have been as well. Green Bay Packers. I mean, right now they're locked into the 7th seed, so it's fitting that they're at number 7 right now. Last week they took the tough L against the Vikings. Skull. Just want to do that there for you, Reed. But 11-5, not bad. I mean, very good. I feel like the offense could play a lot better. A defense can play a lot better too. But against these tough teams, you're definitely going to get a close game. So it's just game of inches every single time, trying to get that last few points on the board to make the difference at the end. It's tough on both sides of the ball. So going into Chicago here, it should be an easy win for them going into the playoffs. Definitely some momentum to take in there, and possibly even move up in the rankings here. Because if they were to stay at the 7th seed, we all know who they'll play. Probably the Philadelphia Eagles, because it's not going to change. But if they can somehow move up over the Commanders, if the Commanders lose this week, which I'm pretty sure Reed wants, they can definitely go up and face the Rams, which is a much easier route. So we'll see how all that happens. Again, playoffs are going to be shaken up this last week, and I don't think the Packers will sit any players just for that. Yes, they are locked in, but obviously they want the easier route somewhere. So hopefully Green Bay does good. We'll see. Sitting at 6, I'm going to have the Ravens, Baltimore. You guys have been doing good. Also sitting at 11-5. Might sit a lot of their starters this week. Who knows? They're pretty much locked here at the 3rd spot. Even if they lose, they will not move down because the Texans have just been playing super crappy. But they also have, beat the heck out of the Texans. So if they are ever to face up against them in the playoffs, I don't think they're worried at all. So the Ravens right now, if everything does not change, they should be facing the Chargers. I think that one's going to be a pretty good game. But next week, I mean, they're facing the Cleveland Browns. I think this is going to be an easy win. Not going to talk about it too much. We might see some different quarterback play here and there. But again, I think the Ravens should win this one. So hopefully they can make some noise here in the playoffs. But I'll talk about that in the next Power Rankings video, playoff edition. Sitting at 5 here, I'm going to have Skull Nation, the Vikings, who just beat the Packers 27-25. 14-2. I'm not a Vikings fan, guys. I just like their chant. I think it's very awesome that they could do that. And it sends a lot of culture there. Even though they play in a dome, right, Reed? Not a tough team, according to Reed there. But this next week, they will go up against a very tough team, Detroit. So this is for the division outright. For the number 1 seed is this game, and it's going to be Sunday night football. Amazing way to set this up. It's going to set fireworks off, guys. I mean, if this game is not good, I'd be very surprised. But I definitely think this one should be down to the wire. If not, the team that's trying to come back will definitely give it their all. And it should be a good representation of how the playoffs would go. But yeah, sitting at the 5 seed right now, have the possibility of beating the Lions and moving up to the 1 seed. So we'll see what happens, but both teams sitting at 14-2, definitely going to be excited to watch this one. And here we go, sitting at 4, I have the Detroit Lions. They were at number 1 and number 2 for me for a very long time, number 1 mostly. But with all the injuries that have happened, the way they've been playing, they haven't been getting those consistent wins against teams that they should be winning by multiple touchdowns against. And right now, I feel bad for the Lions, but MCDC's there. Jared Goff, I guess, is cool too. But really, right now, they've lost their duo running back, the two-headed monster that I was talking about all season. I guess maybe I put some bad luck on there. So hopefully, knock on wood there, Jahmyr Gibbs can keep it going by himself. Hopefully, David Montgomery could possibly make a return late in the playoffs. We'll see. But right now, the Detroit Lions sit at the number 1 position. They got the dub against the 49ers 40-34 this past week, moving up to 14-2. And like I said a little while ago, facing up the Vikings in Week 18 for the division, for the number 1 seed. It's just going to be the best football, guys. I already talked about it, but I'm very excited. Sitting at 3, right here, guys, the Buffalo Bills. I think Buffalo, sitting at 13-3, is a very, very good team. Very good team. But I still think there are some areas to clean up on both sides of the ball, just like every single team. And, getting to the win 40-14 against the Jets, it was great. They pretty much shut them out, not letting them score very many points until the end of the game. So I think the Buffalo Bills will end up sitting some players this week because they're already locked in the number 2 position, cannot move up or down for the playoff standings there, and they're going against New England. Yes, I think this is a divisional game, so everybody's going to want to play just to beat down on the Patriots, hopefully. But if they lose this one, it doesn't really matter. So rest your guys because you might have a tough matchup. If everything goes as planned, you'll face up against the Broncos most likely. And I don't know, it could be a very interesting one. So in my opinion, Buffalo should be trying to get ready for that playoff game. But of course, they still have the game plan here. So we'll see what happens this week. I think they should win. Sitting at 2, guys, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. They've definitely surprised me this year. I did not think they would be able to do this after losing one of the best centers in the league, if not the best, ever to do it. He's got the argument there. But Kelsey, I mean, I miss him. I definitely do. But the Eagles have definitely rebounded there with Jalen Carter on the other side, on the defensive side as well, after losing Fletcher Cox. They've just reloaded, and I think the Eagles are back again. So they could make a very good playoff run here to go to the Super Bowl. We never know. But at this point in time, they took the dub to 41-7 against Dallas. Pretty easy and expected. Going against the New York Giants this next week. Probably another easy win, even if they rest all their starters. New York did play well this past week, so maybe I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt. But I think the Eagles should still win this one with their backups. Saquon Barkley is already sitting. I'm assuming Jalen Hurts will be sitting as well. So probably see some more of Kenny Pickett there until we get to the playoffs. So hopefully everything goes well. Everybody's healthy because I think for playoffs, they definitely need everybody there healthy and starting if they are to play the Packers first round. So we'll see. Packers or Commanders, I don't know. But definitely going to be a tough game. And at number 1, guys, the Kansas City Chiefs sitting at 15-1, the almost perfect season there, but going to probably make some noise in the playoffs, guys. Been locked in for a long time. Probably the first team to do it, I believe, if not the second. I think they were rivaled with the Bills there because of the horrible division that the Bills are in the AFC East. But this past week, getting the easy dub, in my opinion, against the Steelers, 29-10. I expected this win going into the week, but definitely before, I thought the Steelers could definitely make some noise and possibly beat the Chiefs to, ruin their record just a little bit more. But going into Denver, if the Kansas City Chiefs are actually sitting majority of their starters, I think Denver could pull a fast one on the Chiefs here to try to get into the playoffs. Of course, the Chiefs already locked in the first round bye, so they really have nothing to play for in this week except to get healthy and game plan for whoever they're going to play there in the divisional round and not the wild card round. But the Chiefs are really doing good. I think they have definitely shown me that they are getting better and beating teams that they should be beating by a lot more points. So that is why I have them at number 1 for the second week in a row. And I think they should have maybe been number 1 a few weeks here and there. But again, I just really was not giving them the benefit of the doubt because of the way they were winning, or barely winning, if I could say that. But Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs here are doing good. That defense over there with Spagnuolo definitely playing very, very good, holding a lot of teams to under 20 points, and almost every single game, I think, under 30. So one of the best defenses in the league right now, not talked about too many times or on any of the channels, especially ours. But I think the Chiefs could do it. I think there's a possibility they can make a three-peat. I hope they don't, but again, if they do, it's history, so I wouldn't mind watching that with my own 2 eyes at AJ's house. Super Bowl party. But this is going to be it, guys. This is my last power rankings video for the 2024-2025 season. Again, if you guys have watched all the way through, I hope you have a great new year. This is the first video that we are putting out in 2025, and we are so grateful for you guys that we even have a surprise going into the playoffs. If you've been with us for a long time, you know this is what we do every single year. But in the playoffs, we have a playoff bracket. So it will be coming out soon. AJ should be announcing it in our Discord. So go ahead and get in there if you're not in there already, or turn on notifications. I'm pretty sure he will at everybody so that you guys can fill it out. And if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button, join the Discord down below, hit the like button, leave a comment what you guys think of these videos. They will be getting shorter for the playoffs, so if you guys like shorter videos, they'll definitely be way shorter. But that is it, guys. I hope you had a great 2024-2025 season for the NFL. It is almost over and getting into the playoffs, so football is just about to get very, very good if it hasn't been already for you. But hopefully you enjoy the playoffs too. Hopefully you enjoy these videos. And again, that's all, guys. Have a great new year and hit that like button. As we always say, though, keep on grinding.